goes back to that old adage that not every person is the same. So it not only with personality, but with just genetics.
Exactly correct, Richard. I mean, everyone's not the same, and you have to be able to look at someone and go, "Oh, it's not this." We have 85% of normal lab values are normal for 85% of the people. 15% of the people fall out of those norms, and it's still normal for them. So you have to be able to do the art of going, okay, this is off, but you're still okay, and there's no problem. So this is your norm. Like thyroid disease. I had many people with thyroid disease that their TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone, is running incredibly low. And we're like, you don't feel this or this? They're like, no. But, some endocrinologists try to treat it. It's like, why? It's not a problem. Don't treat it. If it's not a problem, don't treat it.
I hear you.
The presence of disease is not an indication for treatment. The presence of symptoms is what's indicated for treatment.
What's going on, John?
Hey, John.
Still not smiling? Damn.
VoiceOver Quick Start. In this Quick Start, you'll learn VoiceOver basics as well as important VoiceOver commands to help you navigate.
Is that me or is that someone else?
Not me.
Okay. Quick Start at any time and finish it later. To advance through the Quick Start panels now, use the arrow keys located to the right of the main keyboard keys on a portable computer.
Guys, I'm going to go put myself on mute real quick. Give me a second.
Yeah. Your computer will now self-destruct in 15 seconds.
VoiceOver on Safari.
Oh, it's you, John?
Trying to hook up my
John, you look disheveled today, dude. What's up with your hair?
VoiceOver off.
There we go.
You look disheveled, dude. Usually you're nice and neat. You look disheveled today.
No, I just got done being a fat guy in a exercise room.
Oh, I'm just a fat guy sitting at home.
There we go. I couldn't hook up my mic.
Who else is coming, Chris?
Give me a second.
All right. Well, at least John and Richard here. So, hey, if you guys go to get your immunization, let me give you a little heads up on something to do that's better for getting your immunization, because there's been reactions. I just had my first one today, and that's why I'm a little zony. Especially with the Moderna one, they've been showing reactions of nausea, vomiting the next day, and local reactions. So I've had one of my physicians have a local reaction. One of my audiologists and one of my MAs have bad GI upset. So they say the best way to do it when you go to get it is make sure you alternate Tylenol and Motrin the whole day you get it, and then take a strong antihistamine about a half hour before you get your immunization. So I took like 50 milligrams of Benadryl before I got it, which is why I look like zony. Because if you guys ever taken diphenhydramine or Benadryl, you know it kind of zones you out. But it's a strong antihistamine. And they say that's the best way to avoid the GI reaction to the Moderna vaccine for COVID. Just so you know.
3 more minutes until the rest of the crew comes in.
Okay.
Renee might not make it because he's working overtime.
Okay. Hey, Mike, you there?
Hi.
Is there a way to see? Oh, what's going on, Mike?
Hey, Richard.
Is there a way to? Because I'm clicking on the link on the text because I'm trying to get the number so I can send that to Renee. That way he can do the voice. Because I think.
Oh yeah, I just I'll just shoot it to him in text, and he could just join in text.
Yeah, because in the text itself is just the link to the meeting.
Yeah.
And when you click on it, it kind of like.
Yeah. It'll ask you if you want to do audio only. When you click on that link, your phone asks you if you want to do audio only.
Hey, Richard, if you don't just tap on it, I believe if you hold down on it, it'll allow you to copy the link that's embedded there. And then you can paste that into a text to him.
Let me go get a number too.
Yeah, let me try to do that. Because when I click on it, it doesn't give me the option that Chris was saying. Yeah, it doesn't give me it. Maybe because I don't know. Like if I click on it, it doesn't give me either to do.
No, don't just tap. Hold down on it. It should give you something, because that's how I get it over to email for myself.
Okay, let's give Renee some time as Richard reaches out to him.
Is Anderson coming in today?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, does anyone, Chris, on your face, it's a black mark or something that I'm seeing on my screen. There you go. That's better.
Oh yeah, your mic's right in your face and it's going.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So I was
how's
just seeing this black.
How's my audio?
Good. Hey, your
Good.
face is kind of black, dude.
Yeah, it is. Good. Bravo.
That's the first,
Bravo.
that's the first time I've seen your face be black. What the hell?
I know. What's up with that, dude? What is up with that?
Let's not get canceled, guys. I was gonna tell a joke, but I think I'll cancel myself.
No jokes.
Yeah, no, I'll cancel myself.
I get you.
Okay. Richard, how's that thing with getting Renee?
I was able to text the actual number, so we'll see if that works for him.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, who's that? Like a movie star right there. Look at that. Like in
You
a
guys even
mystery,
see me? It's like totally dark.
a mystery
Oh.
movie.
When a car passes you, we can see you.
All right.
Okay.
I'll try and get
So
people to.
I got some constructive criticism. People will no longer ask other people to, please stop, let me talk. I will be muting you when I feel like you've done too much. I hope I don't have to do that and you could just mute yourself. That's my hope, that not to continue past, what's reasonable. If you're searching for words, you're pretty much done. Just wait until you get a chance to come in and talk again. And I'm gonna try to have this as a roundtable discussion. I'll start off well. And what I'm debating
Up,
just
John.
debating.
Hey, good evening.
I call him, it'll just be like that.
Hey, is there a prize if you get muted the most?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the people that really need to get muted is when they're interrupting somebody else that's making a point.
Thank
and-
you.
and they-
I
and
agree
they-
with that.
And they do it in a disrespectful way, kind of like, nah, trying to cut them off. But if somebody's trying to
There you
explain
go,
themselves,
Richard.
they probably
Good
shouldn't be muted.
ideas.
And those who filibuster too much.
Oh, so the censorship.
No, you should be able to get your point across within a very short time period. It shouldn't take 5 minutes to get a point across.
Yeah, so that's a good point, having a time limit, because there are certain people that go for a long time, but then when somebody else goes for a long time, they may not like it, but they like going for long times.
It's an hour show or an hour and a half show. So if you take 7 minutes, that's a ton.
Jeez, whoever's taking 7 minutes needs to.
Oh, it's taking more
check
than 7
themselves.
minutes.
I think everyone here and this panel is taking over 7 minutes to explain one thing.
Who is it?
Okay. You didn't pick up. All right, we're gonna start the show.
For me, Chris, you're still getting weird images in front of your face and off to on your shoulder. Okay,
Yeah.
that's better.
It's when I move, right?
Yeah, right.
Ghost happens.
Okay.
All right. Sun Tzu, you want to do intro?
No, just because I'm driving, and if someone, I'm a little bit of a crazy driver because I'm trying to get to my son. So
Okay.
Could be.
Oh,
shit.
I'll do
but
intro.
thank you.
I'll do intro. We'll go me, Sun Tzu, and then Sean figure out the rest of the. Sun Tzu would be.
So after Sun Tzu, why don't we have Richard go? Then I will go. Then John will go, and then Mike will go.
And Mike. Okay.
And
So
Mike.
Chris, Sun Tzu, Richard, Sean, John, and Mike.
Oh shoot! Thank God I didn't do that. I did the wrong one. Okay.
Where's Anderson?
I don't know.
He's skating again.
I don't know.
He found out I was going to be on, so he's like, "Oh, I'm sick. I'm not feeling good."
Yeah, it's a big crybaby.
Chris didn't give anyone a heads up.
That's good though.
Yeah.
John has a strong
Welcome
ally.
to We Could Be Wrong with your host, Christopher Harris.
Sun Tzu.
Sean,
Richard.
I'm John.
and
And Mike.
Well, I thought we might try that again. I thought we were.
Welcome very much, and welcome to the show of We Could Be Wrong with your host. This is Christopher Harris.
This is Sensu.
This is Sean.
It's Richard.
I'm John.
And Mike.
Awesome.
Yay.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode. We have some people out due to personal reasons, but we're going to continue on. I would like to let you guys know, again, we're continuing with political talk for this week. The biggest thing that we're going to, was that a sigh? Was that
Yeah,
a sigh?
sorry.
A
Yes.
little bit.
Okay. So we got to do it because our president has the distinguished notoriety of being the first president of the United States to be impeached for a second time. I want to open this up and I want to educate some people on a couple of things. I want to do some fact checking for everyone. What does this mean to be impeached for a second time? If he's impeached for a second time, it does not, and if he gets convicted, it does not prevent him from running again for 2024. So those who thought this time he's going to get convicted, oh my goodness, we get him out of the political picture from now on. No, it does not mean that at all. No, that's wrong. Okay. There has to be a separate vote in the Senate that prevents him, right? So even if the Senate votes to remove Trump, this will not prohibit him from running for 2021. For the Senate to ban him from his presidency, it would have to hold an additional vote. He does not lose his $1 million a year pension. That's not even what he gets.
Travel.
Okay?
It's $1 million a year travel.
Exactly. A lot of people thought it was a pension. It's $200,000. That's what he gets for the rest of his life. Okay. 250. Okay. Okay. I'm looking it up here. It doesn't matter. Okay. So these are things that we need to know about. Okay. So for those who think this was a good reason for those things, you guys are wrong. And because you know the truth now, is it still a good reason for those things to happen? I have an idea of why they would do this. And my idea is they want to they want to prove a point. They want to say, hey, you have to understand, for some Democrats and people of the left, they feel he was, just an inch away from being a dictator. And they want to go out there and say, hey, we do not condone or allow or even tolerate dictators. A lot of other people don't feel that way. I'm telling you what I believe they feel. And they're doing this to prove a point, to make an example of him. Okay. My idea, they could also be doing this to set up Biden as a unifier, as someone to show compassion, because Biden has every right to be like, you know what, let's not even do all that. Now that I'm in office, everything's flowing well, let's just let him go. And then that could show his compassion. It could be setting up for that as well. This is a major thing, guys. This has been a very amazing 4 years of a president. I am not going to deny the fact that President Trump had some very good things, and no one should. I participated in a group that didn't even want us to talk to people who voted for him or felt like he was doing a good job. That is ridiculous. That is poison for anyone who feels like, they thought Trump was good, and because you thought that, you should be excommunicado. You are wrong, and you should be excommunicado, because that is hate.
Amen.
Okay? I honestly feel that we love to call a lot of right-wingers evil. Real evil, guys, is someone like Richard Ramirez, Ted Bundy, serial killers, people who kill without conscience. That's real evil. Let's not just be whooping around evil and this and that. You could have different ideologies. Let's be careful on who we're calling evil. And that goes on both sides. And that's all I got to say. Let me open up the floor to what you think, Richard, about this impeachment. Then we'll go Richard, Sean, John, Sensu, and Mike. Thank you.
Yeah, it's one of those things, I can't, it's hard for me to put my finger on it. I feel combination like what you just said, Chris, where it's like no matter what the guy does, he's evil in everybody's eyes, and or the other way, right? That he can do no harm. So for me, I can't really say that I'm for or against it. I'm just pissed off at the fact that there was people in the Capitol, and I want to default blame him for it completely, but and looking at some of the transcripts of what he actually said, I think the only thing that they're trying to attach is he said, go there and fight like hell. Is that correct, John? Or am I off? He said, yeah, right, Sean? He's like, fight like hell.
Well, we're gonna have a. I'm sorry,
Sorry, I
for
was
Richard.
muted.
We're gonna have a video about exactly what he said, and this is from
Okay.
courtesy of Comedy Central, who one of our panelists, Renee, really wanted to be played. That'll be played pretty soon.
Okay. So, I mean, based off his influence and everything, I got to agree with the impeachment, I have to.
Can I ask a question?
Not yet. I'm sorry, Sunsu. Let's
Just to clarify what Richard, just to clarify, the fight like hell, are you guys referring to the speech in DC or something previous to that?
When I play the video, you'll be able to hear it, and then from there
Okay.
you can make your comment. I'm sorry. Sean, you were next, sir.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on this. My personal opinion, did he do something wrong? Yes. Am I agreeing with the impeachment? Yes, but am I agreeing with how they're doing it? No. I think they've kind of rushed through with this. Every other impeachment in history has had time to go through the House. They knew they were not going to get it done before he left office. So to me, I think it's kind of a show of, oh, we're going to get it done right now, before everything. He deserves his judicial rights like anybody else. It should have gone through the House Judicial Committee. They should have had hearings on it. They should have been able to bring witnesses and say their side. Everyone's saying, well, we all saw it. Well, of course we did, but that's not the way the judicial system works. And he's just entitled to the judicial system as anybody else. Again, do I think he was wrong? Yes. Do I think it's an impeachable offense? Yes. But procedure is what makes more importance to me. He deserves his day in court. And he deserves a right to be heard, and he deserves to have his side of the story told before they just go in there. So I just think, I don't like the way they're doing it, is my personal opinion. I just don't think they're doing it the right way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, because that's just my feeling. He deserves it like anybody else did. It shouldn't be a 15-minute impeached. It should be let's go through the judicial system. Let's go through the House. Let's do it correct way, and then let everyone decide from there. So that's my opinion, Chris.
Next, please.
Was I next, Chris?
Sure, why not,
I think
Sunsu?
so, right? I don't know. I just can't remember. I don't want to leave it. So my opinion on the impeachment, Sean brought up, basically due process, which they did not give him the courtesy or the respect to give him what any other American would be granted, which is due process if there were a crime, committed, which is what they're claiming. I think that people have jumped to conclusions as far as quote unquote, inciting violence, because, it's been repeated over and over again that he said, to go to the Capitol and to peaceably and patriotically to allow your voices to be heard, which to me aligns with exactly what our rights are, right? To be able to do that. And if we look back when he was actually inaugurated, we can compare what happened there, what happened, the day of January 6th, which I was there for personally. I think it's unfair. I think they're rushing through the process as always. I think that making any rash decision and rushing it is always a big mistake, and that's in every aspect. And I think because of that, to me, I do label everyone involved who's trying to rush this as, I don't want to take away, like you said, Chris, evil, but I do feel like there is a sense of evil or a streak of evil in there, because there's no good intention they're not really trying to seek out justice, because if that were the underlying motivation, then of course it's not evil, right? But I don't think that their motivation is really to find justice. It's really just to damage him, and they're hoping to just take him down. And so because of that, I just don't trust, the people in government who are a part of that. And that includes the Republicans. So that's my take on the whole situation.
John.
So sorry, let me get a little closer. I obviously, I think this whole thing is a sham. It's for show. There's no legal justification for this impeachment, especially with the new information that came out over the last couple of days about how the FBI has released information saying that this was a pre-planned attack, that I would actually encourage everybody, as much as this pains me to do, I would actually encourage everybody to read the New York Times article on this thing, because they did a really good job laying out the time frame of what was going on, when the actual break-in started, when the agitations were started, when the when the speech was over, things like that, where the very first time that people started to breach the Capitol or breach the perimeter was 20 minutes before he even stopped speaking. And honestly, and I'm a Trump supporter, I mean, I don't think that's a secret, but that speech was boring as hell. So I don't know who could possibly get incited at that thing. I'm just being honest. It was. Truthfully, that was probably one of his worst, I think, that I've ever heard. So if it, and my question comes down to, if you're going to impeach this guy for inciting a mob to run down and to break in places, and the FBI had information that they were going to do this 2, 3, 4 weeks prior to it happening, how can you spontaneously incite a mob with a speech that you're giving when people are coming there planning to do this, planning to do that?
Was that all, sir?
That's it.
Mike, take it home.
Okay. Well, interesting. I think, Chris, we talked a little bit about his speech at the White House. And I remember you saying you thought he looked stressed. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, because you said, wow, that was kind of and I'm kind of supporting you, John, because that's what he said, that he looked like he was under duress and stressed. And it was just really odd, the circumstances upon which he was saying what he was saying. Keep in mind that part of the premise for saying that Trump is guilty, I suppose, of spurring on the mob isn't just what happened in Washington that day, but what's been going on for months, as he continues to say, the election was stolen, the election was stolen, the election was stolen, the election was stolen, and all of the court cases have shown or have not supported him. Let's put it that way. So I think that's part of what they're talking about. But all of that said, it is theater, in my opinion. It's theater. I don't think I don't like to engage in things. I guess I'm like an attorney. Don't ask the question unless you know the answer yourself. Okay. Don't ask a question that can throw you off. Don't engage in an enterprise if you know you can't pull it off. And there's no way in hell you're going to get 17 senators to vote for impeachment. So why are you going through this process? So that makes the point that John and Sun Tzu have both made, that it's mostly theater, and that sucks. That's not what it's all about. That's all I have to say.
Okay, so I'm gonna play the video that Renee really wanted to be here to hear, but because of work, his day job, he's unable to do it. So we're gonna go to a share view, and some of you on this panel might be upset. Some of you might not be liking the video you will hear or see. But
That's you and me, John.
no, it could be anyone. It could be anyone. So
Yeah, right.
we're gonna play it now.
General George Washington's soldiers were freezing cold, fighting for independence against tyranny, domination, and control. It was their moment to stand up and fight for freedom. To many, January 6th is such a moment.
The battle for the White House is now a full-fledged struggle for the survival of this constitutional republic.
We, the people, are in control of the United States, and we will take our rights back.
74 million Americans are not going to shut up.
This is about taking a stand where you can take a stand.
We need to fight back. We win because of our ideas. We lose elections because they cheat us.
We're going to keep fighting until every illegal vote is thrown out.
They rigged the election in front of all of us, and nobody did anything about it.
Call your congressman and feel free. You can lightly threaten them. If you don't start supporting election integrity, I'm coming after you. Madison Cawthorn's coming after you. Everybody's coming after you.
We're not timid folk. We're people who understand when there's a challenge in front of us, we rise to the challenge. We fight, finish, keep.
It is time to stand and fight. The swamp isn't truly drained until we've nailed the hides of the alligators to the wall.
We need to fight back. We need to strike at the heart of their power. We need to show that the next revolution is just getting started.
The ruling would be that you got to go to the streets and be as violent as Antifa and BLM.
Will we stand up for freedom as Samuel Adams and his fellow patriots did?
If we don't fight on January 6th on the floor of the Senate and the House, that is the joint meeting of Congress, on these electors, we're done. It's time for everybody to stand up and be heard.
President Trump won this election, so everyone who's listening, do not be quiet. We cannot allow this to happen before our very eyes.
Liberty-loving patriots that will not let them steal this election.
We have to fight this out for the American people.
This is our 1776 moment.
Get it right. They stole it. Right. We need to take it back for the people.
It's time for conservatives to show that backbone.
Republicans, grow a backbone and fight.
We are in this fight to the bitter end. We are going to take our country back.
We need to march on the Capitol today, and we need to stand up for this country.
We're fighting for the future of this country.
We're going to keep fighting. I implore you to keep fighting too.
Freedom isn't cheap, but you know what? Imagine this, that you get to go back home once we conquer the hill.
Patriots here ready to fight, certainly have the back of the president.
If you're going to be the zero and not the hero, we're coming for you, and we're going to have a good time doing it. Don't be suppressed. Don't be put in your corner.
We will not go quietly into the night. We will defend liberty.
Today is the day American patriots start taking down names and kicking ass.
Let's have trial by combat.
They're not taking this White House. We're going to fight like hell, I'll tell you right now. We're going to the Capitol. You'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and we're going to have to fight much harder. We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
So Renee's purpose of wanting that video shown was because he said, look, this is how it happened. They built it up. They got people's emotions stirred. And, when I watched this video earlier today, it made me think of some really close friends of mine. They're Trump supporters, and they kept on sending me videos and asking me questions. What about Maxine Waters? What about when they said this? When they say that? How come Biden's not coming out and saying that's wrong? He's supposed to be the unifier. He's not, this person said so-and-so, this person said so and that. And when these people were telling me that, that built up in my head, like, oh my goodness, why is he not, should he be? And then I see a video like this, and, President Trump yesterday made a great speech. I thought one of his best of his whole presidency he made yesterday. And he talked about wanting to unify. And then when I saw that video, it made me think, well, how come he didn't say, hey guys, let's ease up on that. Was the election really stolen? It showed a clip of Kevin McCarthy, right? And even he said during the impeachment debate that it wasn't stolen. After you saw him say it was, then now he says it wasn't. And I wonder how many other people really believed it wasn't stolen and just said it was to get cred, clout. clout chasers, right? Star effers, for those who understand that. And Sun Tzu mentioned something off show. She's like, you know what? All these politicians are dirty, Chris. And yeah, a lot of them are. And I think it's our responsibility to hold them to the fire. So I'm going to ask everyone again on this panel, starting with Richard. Please directly tell us, tell the audience, do you think the election was stolen? Do you think it was rigged?
You there, Richard?
Sorry about that. I forgot I was on mute. I don't think that it was completely stolen. And why I say completely instead of just saying yes or no is I do think that there was a small percentage, and I said this even before all this, the fraud stuff, whatever, he started saying fraud. I think that there was pockets of fraud, but not enough to change the election. I can't prove it. I can't, show it. I've seen few of them switch things around. I think Pennsylvania was one of them, right? I was laughed at in the beginning, like, oh, everything's been proven wrong. There's been no proof of any kind of fraud. It was completely a clean election all across the board. I don't buy that. I don't buy that it was clean all across the board. We go from Russia meddling and doing that for years and years to all of a sudden now it's squeaky clean, So I don't buy that. I think there was probably a small percentage, but not enough for Trump to win. So I think Biden would have won anyways. But it just frustrates me that we want to just turn the blind eye like, nope, it was perfect, no problem. But I could be wrong. Okay, it's just my gut feeling.
We could be wrong, but who cares, right? Sun Tzu?
Okay, my mind's going over. I feel like yes, it was stolen. I feel like there was
stolen, like Trump should have won.
Hands down, 100%. I feel like there was enough discrepancies that there should have been actual audits done to prove it, because it was such a crucial election for everyone. And I think that the American people deserve that on both sides, for people who voted for Biden to say, we told you so, he won fair and square. We did everything. We don't need to show you any more proof. And then for Trump's side, for people who are Trump supporters, for them to be able to say, swallow that fat pill and just say, okay, there's nothing more to do. And, I've said it over and over again, it would have been a win-win for everyone. And so for the left to not agree to that and do so in an honest way, because I know people are going to say, oh no, they did this. The audits were not done properly in the places like Georgia that they claimed that they did, because Trump's team was not privy to any of the information for them to review themselves, as you would with any situation like that. And again, it was such a crucial election, and being that it was so close according to the actual, the final numbers, I think that everyone deserved at least that. I think that, there's a lot of misinformation out there. I know John has a lot more detailed information, but about the court cases and things like that, because I know someone on the panel likes to say that, everything was thrown out, but doesn't mention why or what exactly happened. And, for the American people to think that it is impossible for someone to steal an election, but yet we went through the whole Russia collusion. I mean, we saw corruption all the way to the CIA. So I think that says enough.
Thank you. It sure did. Thank you. John?
Yes, I think the election was stolen.
Enough for it to, completely, President Trump should have won.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I keep hearing this thing, and I know that this is something that maybe people believe, but I keep hearing, oh, there was fraud, but there wasn't enough fraud to change the election. Well, here's the thing. How much fraud is too much fraud? When there are states won and lost by 1%, is 1% fraud enough to turn? 1%, not 50%, not 100%, not 40%. But if a state is won and lost by 1% or less, that's absolutely attainable. So yeah, I think the election was stolen. I think that's an apt word for it.
Mike.
We have a system in America. I think it's called our judicial system. When anyone is wronged, they have a right to seek legal correction.
I'm so sorry for interrupting you, man. It sounds very petty when you go, I think it's called juices, you start saying it's the court system and whatnot. I just wanted to say that. I just think you're going to incite a riot here, but go on.
All right. Okay, Chris, gotcha. Okay, we have a judicial system in America so that anybody can turn to when they're wronged, when they feel like they've been wronged, whether it's personally or legally. And that's what you do when you don't think something has gone right. You hire the best lawyers you can hire, and you go after those wrongs over and over and over again. And if you're rich and you're white in America, you have a much better chance of overcoming those wrongs than if you're poor or a person of color. And that seems to be pretty traditional. So we have a man who is rich and white who has hired the best possible legal people he can hire to go after every one of those challenges that John and Sun Tzu have talked about in Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, all of those states. By the way, there was a state that was 1% in North Carolina that they didn't challenge. That was also less than 1%, by the way. And they didn't challenge that one because the Republicans won that one. But the point is, that's what we have a system, and our system works. There were over 60 cases in which the best attorneys Trump could hire would present the best information they could present to those judges. Many of those judges were Republican appointed judges, and they too, all 60, I think there was only one case in which there were a portion of what the lawyers wanted was found accurate. In the other 60 cases, there was no basis for a decision to say the election was corrupt or stolen. There's nowhere else to turn. It even went to the Supreme Court on 2 different cases, and they didn't take the case on the basis of there wasn't enough information, or it had been filed not in the appropriate time limit that needed to be filed to take the appropriate action. So to the depth of my soul, if you're saying our entire judicial system is corrupt, I can buy it. I'll go along with it. If you can say there was a giant conspiracy to corrupt all of those judges, I can understand that. But for you to say our judicial system is working well, the judges are effective and doing their job, but somehow they just didn't see stuff, do we blame Trump's lawyers because they didn't present the inaccurate amount of information? So either the judges did their job and they ruled against Trump, or the judges didn't do their job because they were inept or they were crooked.
Thank you.
Give me an answer. Give me an answer. I'd really love an answer to that.
Are you asking someone on the panel? I don't know what you're doing.
No, at some point, maybe today, and as our discussion goes on, maybe somebody could address that.
Thank you, Mike. So just for everyone to know, he believes it shouldn't be, it wasn't stolen. Sean?
First, no one likes to lose an election. No one does, and I totally accept that. Both sides would have been upset no matter who won. Do I think that there's election fraud? Of course there is. Anyone who says the election is 100% correct is ignorant. That's not true. Do I think it's only one side commits election fraud? To me, again, that's ignorant. To say, oh, no, only one side commits fraud. Only one side. Our side is completely 100% correct. I think did they have fraud? Yes. There were multiple recounts. And just because, and they had both Democratic and Republican people doing the recounts together, but just because Trump's team wasn't allowed to personally review the data by themselves doesn't mean anything. They had 2 months to go through court cases. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how much time you need, but they had 2 months to file court cases. And I'm sorry, Trump's team was Giuliani. The reason it was Giuliani is no reputable election law firm would take the case. That should say something to people. There are election law firms out there that are made to fight for elections. They wouldn't accept the case for him. Why? That should be a big question to people. Was it because they don't like Trump? Lawyers don't care about they like money, so it's why didn't they take the case? Because there was no solid data there. Now, if there was solid data, I would say, okay, do I like him? No. Was he my first choice? No. Was Biden my first choice? No. But again, if there was solid data there that showed it wasn't correct, so be it. But the problem is they had 2 months to produce their case and they couldn't. So do I think the election was stolen? No. Do I think there was fraud? Yes.
Let me tell you something. This show is being run very differently. And in a way I like it, in a way I don't. In a way I like when we scream at each other. I think it's fun. But
me too.
Wait, let's all yell at Chris. Let's yell at Chris.
I'm ready whenever you want.
Man, no one interrupted
I believe
anyone.
I believe it. But you know what? I know a lot of Republicans that voted against Trump, and they're still Republicans. They're still Republicans, even though they voted against Trump. I really do. And do I believe that the election was stolen? I do not. I mean, Georgia went blue. Georgia has 2 blue senators. Is there corruption fraud in that? I don't think so. And because I don't think there's corruption fraud in that for those 2 senators, I don't believe it's corruption fraud for President Trump in Georgia, because those 2 senators, the incumbent Republicans, had a very close race that it was a runoff. And they still lost. And Trump went out and I want to say he did an amazing job promoting them, but he didn't. He really didn't, because he was too hung up on his own loss. So for some people, I'm not saying anyone here on this panel, but for some people, that should be a wake-up call. Not saying anyone on this panel, because I have more than these friends here on this panel. It's rough. Okay. And I actually wrote to 2 people on this panel. I said, President Trump really gave an amazing speech, gave an amazing speech. Where was this? Why wasn't he more of this? And someone responded back to me like, oh, poor Chris, he wanted someone to be all warm and fuzzy inside. But the truth is, it wasn't just poor Chris. It was a lot of the Republicans that voted against President Trump, because it means something, guys. Now, again, everyone's going to ask me, because from the very beginning, I was like, oh, you know what? Don't say we don't want Biden. Don't say it's lesser than 2 evils. I've always said that because I think it cheapens our our president to be our president-elect. On Wednesday will be our president. And I hate to do this, but I'm calling you out, John, because I expect to hear you say President Biden next week, because you and I talked about this. We talked about it before the election. And I said that was going to be my goal in my life, dream, to hear you say that. And I can't wait to hear you say it. But in saying that, I thought it would cheapen him, cheapen his, the respect for him. But is Biden my number 1 choice? I've been watching him every day, looking at pictures of him, listening to him speak. And even though I said I hated when people said, oh, he's not my number 1 choice, I get it. I understand. And I hope that in 2024, because he will not be running for a second term, that we find a good representative that's moderate. I don't care if they have the badge of R or or have the badge of the. I mean, I would prefer them to have a totally different badge and still make it, right, a third party candidate. You know, because I think that's what we need, because it really breaks my heart to hear John and Sun Tzu be like, yeah, oh, dude, stolen for sure. And it's like, come on, guys. You know, because these two are the first ones to be like, hey, President Trump is going upstream, up S word, with a paddle from the get-go. But you know what? He's not the only president that had it rough. From the get-go, you had senators and congressmen telling President Obama, you're going to be a one-term president. You had them screaming liar on his State of the Union. So this dude had just as much turmoil as President Trump did. And easy people be like, well, Hollywood loved President Trump. President Obama. I would say, well, some of Hollywood like President Trump too, because we've seen a lot of celebrities support him as well. We have, John. You can shake your head all you want. We absolutely, you know what I mean? And the thing is, like, we have to be fair, right? Well,
dude, I just 100.
That isn't fair.
I just 100 again, 100% disagree with you.
No celebrities have supported Trump at all.
No, he's saying it's like equal to Obama.
Just as bad as Trump.
Yeah.
Oh, he did, dude.
Exactly.
McConnell
Who called President Trump a liar in the State of the Union during his speech? Who did that?
They didn't have to do it during the State of the Union because they did it the other 365 days a year.
Exactly.
I think you're talking more about the media because, John, because I remember Obama being disrespected by other politicians, And that
the governor of Arizona, right? Remember, she wouldn't even shake his hand, or even she was just he came off the plane. She was already in his face, like already in his face.
You couldn't on Fox 2. They would beat him up 24/7. There's nothing good that he can do, and it's just that same rhetoric that the left did to Trump. And it's like I think America's disgusted.
There's one Fox and there's 3 NBCs, not counting CBS, not counting ABC.
Wait a minute. There's one Fox. There's Newsmax. There's AON.
During Obama, there was.
No, not during Obama. No.
Yeah.
Not during Obama.
Well, there's already Republicans saying they're going to put impeachment on Biden on day one.
Yeah, good.
Oh, so see, that's exactly the
Hold on.
Okay.
Why is that? Hold on, guys. Why is that good? Because you didn't want that for Trump, but you want that for Biden now?
But it doesn't matter what I wanted, right? Because everyone on the left, they're gonna do what they want anyways. And so, if that's the way they're gonna play, then I think it's fair to play on the same.
But it's not, because it's a vicious cycle. It's like being in the ghetto, right?
So why does
my mom and dad say slaying drugs? Why can't I? I slaying drugs. My kids are going to slaying drugs. Why can't I? It's the same cycle. Stop it. Stop the madness.
Right. But you can say that all you want. But you know what?
I can say that all I want. Doesn't it make sense?
This is the second time they did it the first time already. They got it out of their system. But no, that wasn't good enough. And then you have Biden claiming he wants unity, and they go ahead and put another article.
Biden had nothing to do with this impeachment.
But
don't say that.
He's the president-elect. You keep talking about how
he doesn't want it.
With the impeachment.
So why doesn't he stop it? So why doesn't
he
stop
no
it?
power
Hold on.
Oh my God, know your politics.
Hold on. Don't start insulting, because then things get crazy and we lose.
Don't say that Trump has all this power and then say, oh, but Biden can't do this. Like,
whoa,
you have right now. To be on an equal playing
would you
field.
admit that? Would you admit that Trump made his enemies, right? He made his enemies with the media. If someone trashed me all day as a news anchor, no matter how impartial I'm supposed to be, he made those enemies. He really did. He really did.
He wasn't.
They hated him from the get-go. How did he make them enemies when they hated him from the get-go? You can't say so. If I come out and I meet you and I just start like, I don't like you, and I start just saying horrible things about you, is that your fault? Did you make me hate you? Like, I don't understand how everything is always redirected to him as his fault.
So
when they go low, we go high.
So what do we do?
Dems do? Please don't Well,
So what do
freaking
we
like,
do to fix it though, instead of like, all right, let's do everything we can now to sabotage Biden?
That's a good question,
Like,
Richard.
what do we
John is
do?
raising his hand. Please, let's give it John a chance to respond, and then back to Richard, please.
This all comes down to one thing, at least on my side. So if everybody is held to the same standard, I don't think we'd have near the amount of hostility and anger and all these type of things. Even if nothing had happened with the election, there was no overturn, there was no anything like that, all of this kind of stuff, even if we could just get wiping that slate clean, even if we could just get that equal treatment, that would eliminate all this. You know, there was a Rasmussen poll that came out the other day that said that 1 out of every 4 people is not opposed to 2 separate Americas. That should be a scary thought. That's 25% of people saying that they're okay with America completely separating. That's not what America is. If we can, like I said, if we can go back and we can get equal treatment on both sides of this thing, that would be the thing. You cannot have a civil society if everybody is not held to the same standard, not held to the same laws, not held to the same basic contractual pieces that everybody else is. If one side has to follow the Constitution, the other side has to follow the Constitution. If one side gets arrested, the other side should get arrested. Everything in equal parts. You don't just say, hey, you know, we're going to give a pass to this dude. We're going to crucify this guy over here. And that other guy that's out there, we were just going to forget that he even exists.
BLM has said that for a long time, brother.
Richard, did you want to comment?
Yeah, no, interesting point. No, interesting point. That's all I'm going to say.
Richard, please.
Yeah. So no, I agree with John. And for me, you all know I've been extremely frustrated with the politics of Democrats and Republicans for a long time. And it's very hurtful. Maybe it's just because in the military, you get conditioned to not wrap yourself around a party, but wrap yourself around the country and what's best for the country at whatever given point in time in history. So for me, it's frustrating because I'm tired of hearing about how Trump did a lot of bad and how Biden and the Democrats, the liberal Democrats, you know, are doing stuff that is bad. I'm tired of us against them. And I think I'm not the only one, you know. I think that America and even the world at this point is so fed up with the double standards that John's talking about, that we're all talking about. And we just want to like move on. Like, let's okay, what do we do now? Because and now the fear is, oh, Democrats have all the power now, right? That's like, they're going to have all the power. And oh my God, right? That's the fear. Well, you know, we need to look past that, and we need to, like, if we're mad about that, like, we need to do something, but the solution can't be just Republican or a Democratic solution. I don't want to sound like JFK, but it needs to be an American solution, you know? When are we going to stop pointing the finger? Well, you hit me first. Well, now I'm going to hit you back like little kids. When are we going to start problem solving together? You know, shake my hand if you're a Trump supporter and a Biden supporter. Why don't we all just give each other a hug when we're done with this pandemic? You know what I mean? Like, what can we do to move forward? That's what the conversation needs to be.
America first.
Okay, Mike, go for it.
I have a premise for you, Richard. I don't know. I don't think I brought it up on this show before, but maybe I have. It's called the 50-50 premise. Okay. And where I came up with this was, I have a son and a daughter from my first marriage, and both of them, probably hard to imagine, they're very strong-willed and opinionated like me. Okay. And they're very much alike. They are very much alike, and they don't get along. And it bothers me a lot. And for a long time, they haven't gotten along. And as their father, I really work hard to try to get them together, but it's difficult. It's very difficult. So I said to each one of them, I said, you know, what I'd like to see you try to do is adopt a 50-50 principle. And the idea is you have to, of all the stuff that's going on between you, you know, all the things, you have to accept the fact that 50% of it is your responsibility. Okay? And so when I said that to my son, he said, Well, Dad, I don't think 50% of it is my responsibility. And so when I said that to my daughter, she said, well, Dad, I don't think 50% of it is my responsibility. So when Chris and I talk about BLM and we talk about the racial divide, that's what I think is the best way to solve that. But now think about that. How many blacks will be able to say, well, now that I think about it, 50% of it is my responsibility? Because they're going to be oppressed and they're going to be hurt and all the things that they have. But the bottom line is, it really doesn't make any difference whose fault it is. It's the Christian concept of grace, of forgiving and saying, you know what? If I can just accept half of the responsibility, then probably we're going to be able to get somewhere with it. Now, Sun Tzu, can the Republicans accept half the responsibility of where we are? John, Richard, Sean, Chris, can you accept half of the responsibility for where we are? Because Sure. if you can accept half of it, man, we're going to go a long way toward being able to do what you just got finished saying, Richard, reaching across and shaking somebody's hand and saying, hey, man, we got to knock this shit off and start finding a way. But what do you think, John? Are the Republicans 50% responsible for where we are, John?
I think so.
Come on. Yes. Sun Tzu.
Richard.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
But Mike, can I respond to you, Chris? Just quickly, like I heard one of the leaders say, we can start to have an honest conversation when both sides accept responsibility. That's essentially what you're saying. Yeah. But the problem is on our side is we're not seeing that. Like just with the whole protesting that isolated.
And the problem on our side is we're just not seeing it.
So you're not seeing how Kamala Harris said that the riots will continue.
And you're not seeing how McCarthy, and you're not seeing how
you just did it right now. You just did it right now. You just
because
did it right
that's
now.
what you because that's what you're doing. Because that's what you do.
No,
that's what you do. That's what you do.
Thank you very much for putting in your 2 cents.
Right there.
Thank you very much for putting your 2 cents. Let me ask John. John, are you still okay with them trying to impeach Biden day one?
Am I still okay with it?
Are you okay with that? I should have asked you. I'm sorry. I had Sun Tzu in my head. Are you okay with them impeaching Biden in day one?
He won't be impeached.
I know, but are you okay with it? If they try it.
Am I okay with them introducing the articles?
Yeah. Or do you think
my screen locked up and I couldn't tell what was going on for a minute.
Okay.
So am I okay with them in putting the articles in? Yeah.
And you think that it's appropriate, even though you gave that speech, that we need to not do that, right? And work together and not give people passes and this and that and treat them like crap, right? You're still
At no point did I say treat them like crap. I said we should have everybody held to the same standard.
Yes.
So if 16 minutes after President Trump's inauguration, they say we're going to impeach him, then 16 minutes after Biden's inauguration.
So then what I feel you're saying is completely different than what Richard's saying. Because Richard,
so
hold on real quick.
No,
Richard.
I think Richard and I are on two different paths.
Richard.
I think we're
I'm
on
not
two
calling your name
paths.
for fun, dude. I'm actually calling you to respond. Do you think that they should continue with this impeachment? Or do you think they need to stop and shake each other's hand? Or because John says he thinks it's fair game that after 16 minutes of him being sworn in, they should impeach him. Is that what you meant too?
Impeach. So now I'm getting confused. You're talking about impeaching Biden?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Hell
going to
no.
introduce articles.
That's ridiculous. That's like still okay. So let me
hold on, Rich. Hold on real quick. So John, he's not agreeing with you. You two are not saying the same thing.
Yeah, I just said we're on
said
two different
that.
paths.
Yeah.
Ooh, you and Richard?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the thing that I believe, and you can believe it, you cannot believe it. The only way these games stop, where this is just like I said, this is the way we feel. The only way these games stop is if we start playing the same way the Democrats do. To where if they're gonna start stuff like that, we have to do it back to them, or we have to punish them in a way that makes it to where they hesitate to do that the next time.
Richard, respond to that, please.
Perfectly said.
Hold on, Sean. Respond to that.
Yeah, so I think that's just we're perpetuating. Nothing's ever going to change with that, right? It's that's the problem right now is you got your established politicians and you got your media almost working hand in hand to maintain this divide. Just look at CNN or Fox or any of those right now, and it's this same rhetoric right here. Like, okay, they're impeaching our president Trump, so now we got to find a way to get him back. And it's like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and we never move forward. Okay, so I think it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, and you can't. And the media is not helping. Like, I don't know what to tell America right now, because the only good information they're going to get probably be from like podcasts like this, where it's real people saying it how it is. Because you go into any news channel and they're just talking points on their opinions about what's happening and putting fear into people, you know. Even just right now, you hear about the inauguration and the National Guard there and all that good stuff, and you're talking about IEDs and we got to watch out. Now we need groups for domestic or what are they calling it? Right-wing terrorists. That's the new term. Like, this is getting absolutely ridiculous right now with how
Don,
they're trying to.
What do you have to say about that?
So is it getting ridiculous as far as the violence? Yes. No one's ever going to say political violence is good. No one's sane. No one's sane is going to say political violence is good. But I would make this analogy. Now, this is a violent analogy, but it's in a political way. If somebody keeps trying to shoot your people, are you going to go up to the demilitarized zone and reach across and try to shake their hand? No.
Well, Richard's actually been shot at. So
because you don't want your people.
Hold on real quick. Richard, you've actually been shot at. So when the Afghanistans or the Iraqis were shooting at you, did you still want to try to make peace with them or no?
Absolutely, and I did.
So there we go, John. There went that theory.
I did, and
What
the
do you mean
people.
there went that
Wait.
So you know, check it out.
So when
Let me
Japan
explain
bombed us,
something.
we should have gone over there and we should have just reached out our hand, and the broken ships that we couldn't even do anything with, right, that are sunk at the bottom of the Pacific, we should have rowed over there and then shaken the emperor's hand and said,
Richard,
hey, we're here to make this right.
John, have you been shot at?
Yes.
Oh. In combat,
so
or were you trying to rob somebody?
I have never tried to rob somebody.
This example I'm going to give right now is a good example why we need new people in combat.
And I did not try to go shake the guy's hand.
So check it out. So when I went into an area of operation, right, for 2 years, it was back-to-back firefights, right, between the forces that were there before me. So I get there, do my turnover, now it's my area of responsibility. The day I get there with my men, right away we get rockets fired at us, mortars. Okay, right away, like saying, "Welcome to this area. Here you go." Boom. Okay, and I sat there just contemplating, looking at all the intelligence reports of all the various attacks about all the months, right? And I'm like, what am I going to do here? I'm the new guy. They're already trying to kill me, so I'm thinking, all right, what's the best way I could kill them instead, right? That's my original reaction, because they've been fighting for 2 years, and I'm like, you know what? Something different. Right? Let me try something different, because I'm the new officer here. Okay. I'm not the same officer / politician that's been here for like 47 years. Okay. And so I'm the new guy. This is my opportunity, because I'm the new guy, to be able to show something different than all of the Americans before me. So I had a Shura, invited them in, made sure everybody was disarmed when they came in, obviously, so I don't have no explosives. Brought them into my combat outpost, hosted them, rice, naan, tea, all the good stuff, stood in front of them, learned their language, introduced myself in their language, you know, salamu alaikum, walaikum salam, chutorasti, huvasti, bahairasti. I did it all with their accent, right? Did it all, said it all. I'm a man of honor like them. I have a wife, I have children, I'm a son, I have a mother, father, etc. Right? I believe in God like you, all that good stuff, right? And what a coincidence that after 2 years of fighting, that's the first time in that area where there was no more fighting. What
Thank
a
you very much for your
coincidence.
service, Richard. Thank you very much for that. So, John, like when you hear something like that, I mean, the thing is not as extreme. I mean, we are not facing what Richard faced. Okay, we're not. Don't you think we could be 100 times more civil and not continue this game? I mean, that's. I just want to bring you to. So I'm sorry. What?
That's not even comparing apples to apples at all. I mean, that was
that's
a great
real
story.
war. This is not real war.
No, wait. No, but you're right. But this is, I bet if we put Richard under the scenario that they came into the, wherever he was, they broke bread, all that stuff. And then they went around and stabbed him in the back and killed some of his people. Then he brought them back. Do that over a year,
I need to disagree with you because I never saw Trump as one to break bread. I never saw him as one to break bread. I never did. So that's apples to oranges.
Pelosi said that she didn't even talk to him for like a year. She chose to not break
bread. They both chose to play that game.
Go to him.
They both did. And you know what? They both need to be out.
But see, that's the problem. This is why John and I, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, why it's difficult to have these conversations, because not once is there any acknowledgement or there's no acceptance of any part.
I opened up the show talking about Trump's good things. I opened up the show like that. What do you mean?
No. But no, the responsibility of the left. No one has all condemned the rioting.
Chris just said that Nancy needs to go too because of their fault.
I've been saying both sides are jerks for years.
Nancy Pelosi, listen, Sean, both sides have total losers. They need to be out of there. We all agree on that.
Exactly.
But I will say, Richard, I'm going to pay you a big compliment. The way that Richard approaches this controversial conversation is the one that I think everyone should approach it that way, because he's someone that I feel like I can have a conversation and want to understand him and then explain my side of things.
Sorry, I'm gonna mute myself.
With other people, it's just sometimes some people on this panel, you guys are great examples of it. The moment we say something, it's but Trump, it's there's never a, you know what, you're right. I'll say there's never any ounce of accepting any responsibility, because there's always a lashback. And that's the biggest issue. We can never come to terms with anything and find any peace if that's the way that things are handled. And it's handled that way across the board.
Doing the same thing. You just mentioned Pelosi. You can't take responsibility either.
So you answered my question.
Sean.
You just did.
So Sun Tzu, you answered my question. When I said to my daughter, can you do 50-50? And she said, but I don't think 50% of it is my responsibility, which is exactly what you said, Sun Tzu. And John,
no, it's not.
Yes,
I
that's
did not
exactly
say that.
That's exactly what
I did not say that. I fully condemn the riots. I fully denounce that. I have yet to hear any of you say that about the riots that happened during the summer. Not one of you have said it.
Sun Tzu, the point of the principle that I'm bringing up is, you don't look at the other side. You look at you. You look at your position. You look at your responsibility. And
and I just said mine. I haven't heard you guys. I'm saying that. I accept our side of things, and I've seen nothing.
She said she accepted, and so did John, though. You guys must have missed it, but they say they could accept 50%. She said that.
Well,
earlier.
But then she turned around and said, but what about
that was you. That was you, Mike. I'm sorry.
Well, I think we're living in the past. I think Mike and Sean, sometimes you guys refer to the past.
Hey, so
interaction with.
I'd like to jump in whenever I get a chance.
She wasn't saying that earlier.
Absolutely. Go ahead, John, please.
So let me ask, and whoever wants to answer this can answer it, but let me finish the whole point before you guys jump in. So this is the view that I've seen in researching a lot of the political history. We've had people reach across the aisle, and we've had people in the past 50 years ago, 60 years ago, reach across the aisle. It was a different world at that point. There was some things that people could agree on at that point. The parties hadn't diverged near as far. There was the great speech that Kennedy gave, ask not, what their country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Right. There's a lot of things that at that point that I think what Mike's talking about could have worked. I don't think that works now. And the reason I would say that is because if you take a look back, let's just take a look back 20 years. You had Bush Jr. reach across the aisle. Where did that end up? It didn't end up anything for us. You had, and I never saw Obama reach across the aisle. If you can point it out to me, I'll be glad to go look at it. I never saw it. What I did see was that every time that we reached across the aisle, and Chris, I would say that Trump did reach across the aisle. He invited Schumer and Pelosi to the Oval Office multiple times to talk. And I can't remember, every single meeting or anything like that, but it'd usually end up in a screaming match and they all left.
Yeah, that's true.
But how many times do you reach out and then have them just spit in your face before you say, look, we have to start fighting the same way they do? How many times do you get stabbed in the back or betrayed or those type of things? And you say, at this point, we are losing what we believe in. We can't, there's certain things that you have to have that are objective beliefs that you have to say, look, you cannot cross this line. This is a fundamental belief of who we are. We're not going to betray this. You can reach across the aisle on certain things. And then if you're, again, how many times do you have that either thrown back in your face or just flat out spit in your face before you say, look, we're not going to reach across the aisle anymore? At what point do you learn that lesson?
So I think you're absolutely right. And you learn it once it's been done multiple times. So you're right. Like no one's contesting the fact that when you got burnt, you're not going to get burned again. And we get that. But I think the question the world wants to ask now, the whole world, not even just America anymore, and all our listeners around the world is, when are we finally going to start fresh and new? Because you're right. There's a lot of politicians right now that are there that have been there for numerous years, that have been burned multiple times. They've tried, or haven't or whatever. Got it. Are we finally ready as a nation to be brave enough to have a new Congress? Are we? Like, I know I have a Congress, our Congress leader has been there for over 20 years. Like, seriously? Like, when are we ready? And just look, I mean, I would love to see a graph that shows the length of time, etc. But I don't think we're going to be able to change our country with the same politicians, and especially with a president that's been there for 47 years. We're not going to really change much. I want to believe that it's going to be great and everything, but it starts with Congress and us finally getting involved and getting new blood. Because you're right, John. So many people have been burned, and they're so entrenched in this mafia in Congress that they can't. They've already kind of signed their souls away. You know what I mean? So,
thank you, man. So I'm gonna read some emails. We actually have people streaming our YouTube right now, and one of them is one of our emailers. I want to read his email. To the host of We Could Be Wrong, I've been listening to this podcast for the last month, and despite it being chaotic at times, well, you didn't have a very chaotic one today. Besides it being chaotic at times, it's certainly interesting to me. I'm a former student of Major Richard, and throughout high school and since graduating, I spent a decent amount of time researching politics, religion, cultural issues, and I would appreciate the opportunity to come on as a guest on your podcast for one of your episodes. I take a relatively unorthodox stance on politics in comparison to most people in California, and I think my perspective would make for an interesting episode. I can be reached, and he gives his email and Instagram handle to work this out. If you are down, sure, we'll have you on for fun. Yeah, right on. We'll do that. I will contact you to reach out the details. I look forward from hearing you. And we look forward to having you on, and we're going to have some fun. Fair notice though, Major Richard was your teacher, and you know what? I have my teacher on as a co-host, and I don't kiss his ass, so I don't expect you to kiss Richard's ass either. So if you're going to be on, you need to be on seriously. Okay? Fair warning. Okay, so let's read one more email.
How do you really feel about that, Chris?
Just get real. This is from Karen. She says, listening to the most recent podcast. This is from last week, and I am shocked and clap to Renee. He says the facts. And she has a little emoji with the little like happy face with smoke out the nose. Good job to him. And I totally agree with him on his point that the extremists supporting Trump has soiled what the American flag represents. I think a couple missed his points completely, but please tell Renee. Clap emoji. Nice. I thought that was pretty good.
To her like soiled, the Trump supporters soiled the flag. Mm-hmm. I just have a question for everyone really quick. Do you feel like some Trump supporters, those ones that she's referring to, extremists, right? Like with the Confederate flag and stuff like that. And do you think some Black Lives Matter supporters that may be stomping the flag and stuff like that, do you think maybe both extremists have soiled the flag a little bit and nobody wants to kind of see that?
Of course.
I think everyone's on this panel has said that, and I'm answering Sun Tzu's thank you.
No, not everybody.
Exactly.
The only person that I know who has not said that is Nicole. That's the only person.
Both sides extremists are crazy. We've admitted that. Both sides are crazy.
John, most Americans don't want to, or at least the media. The media will just be like, if it's Fox, then they'll just be putting it all on Black Lives Matter. CNN, put it all on the right wing, Fox. So where's the middle ground? Where can I go? If I'm a honest American that wants middle, good dialogue that's fair, where do I go? Because I can't go on
the wrong that we stream every Wednesday. That's where you could go. We could go to We Could Be Wrong. I know.
We had a whole session on
hold on, Sean. Hold on. Sun Tzu just put a line in the sand, and I'm gonna talk about it now. Sun Tzu.
What?
Where's John? Did we hear John's feelings? Oh, okay. Sun Tzu. For sure. It's
really bright.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. For sure. It's just because you're gonna get interrogated. No, for sure they could come here. For sure, we have people like you. We have people like John that come in and state their ideas. For sure, we have people like Richard that comes in with an interesting quasi-neutral stance. For sure. Okay. We have people like Sean who knows he's independent, but gets accused of being a radical leftist. He's independent. Okay. For sure, you get that here. This is why we're all here. And this is where people could go. You could come and listen to us at all your major podcasting. We're on Apple, Spotify, everywhere else. We Could Be Wrong. That's where you go. When Fox lets you down, when CNN lets you down, know that Major Richard, Sun Tzu, and John are here to show you the right way with Sean and Mike.
I love your radio voice. It's so zen. It's so unlike you.
Yes. So
but you're right, Chris, and we're joking about it and everything.
Oh no, I'm not joking.
No.
Come here.
You know what I mean? Like we're all of us are laughing because we're digging it. But we all know, like deep down,
and Renee too.
Yep. This is a breath of fresh air. You know what I mean? Like something we can't get really anywhere else. No matter who you are, like this is it. Turn on the TV and forget it. It's so embarrassing. I'm embarrassed about that.
We should all make a news station that we work together on that shows different points, so they can go to one station and get all viewpoints. Would be nice.
Well, as you know, there is
I love it.
There
Good
is
point.
a conservative show coming up. We're just waiting for those who are going to do it to map out time when they're not pumping iron and doing what they got to do. And then we have game
We might get
shows.
shut down though. Well,
You know
we might
what?
get shut down.
Let's actually.
Can I respond to the flag thing
You're
from earlier?
onto
'Cause I-
something.
Yeah,
Sean.
hold on. John has something important to say.
I wanted to respond to the flag thing earlier. I'm pretty sure that Joe Biden keeps cutting my Wi-Fi out.
It's Pelosi.
Yeah, whoever. But Richard, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you said you asked the question: do you think that the right-wing extremists and the left-wing extremists using the flag soil the flag, right? Or something to that effect.
Or they not using the flag, not using. They disrespect the flag. I've seen like it be spray painted, stepped on, and then others kind of putting another flag, above it when it should be the American flag. We should see the American flag high in the sky at Black Lives Matter protests. We should see it high in the sky in other protests, not these other false, cheesy flags.
So the answer is
Right,
yes.
and you were saying that soils the flag.
Yeah.
Is that right? So that's what I wanted to disagree with you on. I think that the flag is bigger than one man, bigger than one group, bigger than one state. What that flag stands for, the ideals and the fundamental beliefs that went into that flag and what it stands for, I don't think they can ever be soiled by any group. That flag stands for freedom and stands for liberty, which has never existed the way that it has in America in any other part of the world at any time. Up until we came along, it was always a monarchy, an oligarchy. It was always feudalism. It was always all these other things. That flag, I don't care who stomps on it. I don't care who burns it. They will never, in my eyes, soil that flag, make it less important than what it is, or desecrate anything that flag stands for. That is what the American flag is. That's what at least that's what it means to me. I don't think there's anybody, I don't care what you do with it, that in my perception will ever bring that flag down.
So I agree 100% with you. Like as far as how I view the flag, and I mean more towards like disrespecting, not necessarily soil. Like now it's soiled for me, and I can never see it the same. It's more like just it's disrespecting it.
Both
But I
sides
agree
have
with you
disrespect.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, John.
Dang, John. I mean, how am I supposed to follow that with comedy? Jesus.
We need
Maybe
Anderson.
don't.
I don't know, bro. I can tell you
So
I
you're
love
not the
that flag,
comedian,
though.
Chris.
Yeah. Huh?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So Richard was talking about, our Congress and things like that, and we need to get them out. And how are we going to do that? So my issue is this: that doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. And so we have to work with what we have, which are extremely corrupt people, right? And people who are adamantly against the other side. But right now, with what's going to happen is the left side is going to be fully in control. And so how do we find any kind of resolve or peace, knowing that the attacks are going to constantly come? Because you're seeing people being deplatformed, people that I follow that I no longer can because, big tech is on the left side and they want to get rid of everyone, every conservative voice. So there's all these injustices happening that is completely un-American. So how is it that you guys or anyone on this panel expect us to say, reach across and let's find peace and unity? You can't if there's injustices like that. We're not being treated as equals. Like, you can't do that.
Okay, John, please.
So I would say this: the only way to actually get in there and fundamentally change the way that Congress is going to operate is the Article 5 Convention of States. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but Article 5 in the Constitution, it's a clause that's called Convention of the States. And it basically is a piece that was set up by the founders where if there is enough states that vote there can be a constitutional convention and things can be added to the Constitution, things can be taken away. The states each appoint their own representatives to it. So if you want to establish term limits and you don't want to vote for Congressman Joey Bag of Donuts, who's been there for 47 years, you can get around him. The states can, if they will join, if enough join together. If you want to take a look at that, you can just use a search engine online, go look up Article 5 Convention of States. There's a whole program on it. There's 14 states that have already passed resolutions to participate in that. Now you have to have a majority of states, obviously, to be able to do that. And there's some way to go, but that is the only way to truly fundamentally change the way that Congress goes, to change the way that the money is actually going and flowing in there. Sorry, am I think I'm
yeah, just a little bit. You're good. You're good now.
Yeah, you're okay.
Sorry,
Sean, are you around?
What was the last thing you guys heard?
He probably went to use the restroom or something.
Yeah.
No, pretty much everything you said, John, came true.
Okay.
For me, it did. Yeah, for me.
Yeah, Sean knows how long I talk, so he figures he can take a 30-minute break and I'll still be talking. So, but I would recommend everybody take a look at that, because that's the way that you're going to be able to get term limits. That's the way you're going to be able to change things. Like if you want, there to be term limits on senators and congressmen, if you want to eliminate the overspending every single year on both sides, which just makes me want to bash my head in the wall, the states as individual powers can override that. They can call the convention of states and they can put that in if it's voted into as a majority by the representatives there. Like I said, I would encourage everybody to look into that thing, because then you don't have to run through the congressmen and you don't have to run through people that are actively trying to save their jobs or save their lobbyists or save their all the money that's coming into them.
Okay. Sean, I actually meant to, because I know you wanted to say something. I said John by accident, but go ahead.
That's right. What I would say to Sun Tzu, it's the same way that the other side did the first 2 years of Trump's presidency, when they held the presidency, the Senate, and the House. We have to learn to work together. That's the only way it is. I understand no one likes it when they control all three parties, but it's been that way several times. And again, the first 2 years of Trump's presidency, it was that way. And it seemed to work okay. I mean, it worked. And if it doesn't work okay, in 2 years from now, when the vote comes up, it's going to switch. I mean, that's what happens in elections. They switch.
Well, that's so the same. That's totally the same with what's
term
going on
limits,
right now.
term limits, new Congress.
Hey guys, let's be realistic here. This show was like episode 2 talking about term limits for the Senate and and House. Like episode 2, we're into episode 41 or 42 right now.
Yeah.
So like 41 episodes ago, we were talking about this.
I think the main issue is we first have to realize that we're not Democrats and we're not Republicans first. We're Americans first. And I think too many people don't agree with that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though, and what's really funny and what's the irony about everything is that this show ourselves, with as many people as we have, it's a microcosm, right? Or a macrocosm, right? And the thing is, we hardly get along sometimes ourselves. Last week, I had a panelist say, hey, this is the problem that I saw. And I had to personally call that panelist and let them know, hey, you know what? I heard what you said and you're right. And this is what I'm going to do. Because no, yeah, I'm sure you wanted to.
Not you, Sun Tzu, not you.
Don't say it. So anyways, but the point is, I mean, honestly, there were times on this show we could have gotten very heated, honestly, and we do. But the thing is, I want to say that's what makes this show relatable. And that's why we have the show the way we do. And you know what? I'm going to do something very stupid, but I do stupid things sometimes. I want to call out a lot of our American audience. Tell your friends about us, dude. It's embarrassing for me that I get more international listeners than I do people from my own country. I'm sorry if you guys get pissed off. I'm just going to tell you how it is, because I think honesty is the best policy. Tell your friends, subscribe to our YouTube, subscribe to our Facebook, continue to subscribe to our Instagram. Because it's funny, we have, I could literally count like 90 people that's on one and not the other. And we just need to start putting it all together. I get it. There's some faults. I need to get the website going. I get it. But guys, start telling your friends, I want this country's, listenership, because we talk about this country's things, to be ahead of everybody else. America first, right? Then act like it and be about it.
I think
Be about it.
I think the Democrats have an extraordinary opportunity right now. And I know a couple of you, some of you may say I'm naive, but I really do. I would love to see, let me finish what I'm going to say. I'd love to see the Democrats present a moderate position and go forward with a moderate position, take care of COVID-19, get the economy squared away, and maintain a moderate position to show a lot of people who are afraid. And I can't help it, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but Sun Tzu, I think you're expecting the worst. John, I think you're expecting the worst. And that's maybe unfair, but that's kind of the sense I get from both of you. And I would like to see Biden just come in and just be moderate. And a ray of hope toward that is there's a lot of talk about forgiving all the student debt, just wiping it out. And to do that would literally make colleges free, because that's what would happen. And Biden said, you know what, I'm going to be unpopular with my own people, but I don't agree with that. I was encouraged by that comment. So I would hope that people can just wait a bit, just give him a chance, give him a chance. See if he can't fulfill a moderate position, and don't expect the worst, because if you expect the worst, you'll probably get it.
Thank you very much. I think that's words of wisdom there.
Beautiful speech.
I want to say, hey, everyone, we are on Instagram at we_could_be_wrong. We're also at Facebook, and this will be put on our Facebook feed at We Could Be Wrong, But Who Cares? The logo's a guy with his fist up. I also want to, we've grown big enough now that we need to change up our logo. So artists out there, please hit me up. We need to change up our logo now. Also, we are in YouTube at We Could Be Wrong, But Who Cares? Look at our logo. Look for that. It's probably at the very bottom because we don't have a lot of subscribers on YouTube. I started that 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I need you guys to subscribe. Tell your friends. I'm annoying myself. Tell your friends.
So if I can throw something in there, Chris, look, what Chris is getting at is we are probably one of the only places that you could come to where, if you're a hardcore Trump supporter, if you're a hardcore liberal, if you're middle ground, whatever, this is probably the only spot you're ever going to go to where it's not one-sided. This is it. And if that's good for our nation, it's good for the world, for everybody's perspectives to be heard, then spread it. Spread this word. We're working together really to heal. You know what I mean? There's a lot of Trump supporters that are hurt. There's a lot of liberals that feel cheated, and middle ground people that feel like everybody's losing their mind, right? Well, here we go. This is it right here. This is the medicine that we need right now. So that's my little pitch.
No, it's beautiful.
Here.
Thank you so much. Also, we have our game show, Podcrushers, hosted by Sun Tzu. We also have Podcrushers hosted by Sun. I can make mistakes. This is live. We're doing it live. We also have our conservative show that will be hosted by John. We also have a lot of fun things. Also, I'm looking for fitness people to do a fitness show that it will only be bi-weekly, so 2 times a month. Hit me up. Let's strike a deal. We need to get us older people back in shape. Like me. All right, love you guys. Outro, John, that's you.
All right. Thank you for listening to We Could Be Wrong. Once again, I am John, the most right host you'll ever hear. So, hey, Chris, just mute everybody else for the next 7 minutes. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Hope you guys have a good night.
Good night, everyone.